So what is going on, guys? This is Taste and I'm bringing you another commentary. This match I've got here is a domination on Resistance with a load of the American members from the clans. This is out of the American connection, so I thought I'd upload this because I know there's a very select few people think that most of my talent comes from my internet connection, so it kind of proves that I can get gameplays, although they're not as often obviously, on a worse connection, although you can all see that it's not exactly drastic. But anyway, I'm not going to talk too much about the gameplay right now, because what I want to talk about is the thought process I had a couple of days ago after I was walking through the street. I don't know if I was just walking or I'd been to the shop or something. It was a little while ago now. I forget the full purpose, and frankly, after the context of my thought process, it didn't really matter. So it's probably about 3 o'clock, right? So there's a shitload of kids walking around, right? Now, I don't know what you think the thought process I'm going to be commentating on today is about, now that I've said that, but it's not, alright? One of them did catch my eye, though, not because she was bang tidy, like you think my paedophilic instincts are going to tell you, but because she was probably 5 years old, wandering about, just talking to her mate on a fucking iPhone, like the most recent version of it as well. And to those of you who think this is just normal behaviour, you're obviously either far younger than me or I'm gravely mistaken about society. Right, she's just sort of walking along there, talking to her mate on the iPhone, quite happily, going, "Can you see me? Can you see me?" I don't know what she's fucking talking about, but she's asking her mate if she can see. "Wave if you can see me, can you see me?" I'm like, "Probably fucking not, you're 2 feet tall in a crowd of fucking normal people, chatting away on an iPhone as though this is fucking normal." So, she's walking down the street doing this, and I sort of get to the process, she's 5 years old, and has a goddamn iPhone. Right, I'm just going to put this into the context of phones. I remember I got my first phone when I was 13, and it was a fucking Nokia 3410. You know, one of them absolutely indestructible things. It fucking was indestructible as well. I remember I accidentally dropped it out of my second floor room. I had to pick it up without bounce one now, and it was fine. Although a couple of the buttons did break through going through the washing machine, so God knows what our washing machine's made out of. But that's regardless of the point. I was sort of wondering, this girl's wandering around on the most recent iPhone, which means her parents must have bought this for her because she's 5 years old. I remember when I was 5, I didn't have the financial status to even define stability with it, so I wasn't going to be able to exactly afford to do this on my own, and I assume she can't either unless she's somehow pulling jobs and shit when she's 5 years old, or has some kind of pocket money that allows for her to get a £400 phone pretty nicely. It's also going to be a contract, and I don't know how much most people expect to get as pocket money, but if I got £40 a month, I'd be in a very different lifestyle than I currently am. So I was thinking through this, and I was sort of like, so her parents have decided to get her something for £400, right? Now, I will fully accept that this may be fine, should her parents be extortionately rich and stuff like that, but it might not be. It sort of got me thinking, is this the normal thing that happens? Are 5-year-old kids these days expecting to have things such as iPhone 4s? Right? Which is something I don't agree with anyway, because Apple is a horrible, horrible product, and the things they do with their apps is just horrible. I take Angry Birds for example. It's a mindlessly simple game that people get utterly enthralled with, but at the same time, when you take into its simplicity effect and its sort of mind-boggling methods into catching people's attention and stuff like that, it's kind of the Mario of this generation, which much as I'm jealous at them for being able to expect such high-quality things, I kind of sympathise with them for the fact that their games are not the same, although the technicality of it is, of course, Super Mario Land was for a game console and Angry Birds is for a phone, but in today's generation of technology, phones may as well fucking be portable game consoles now, because really, game consoles aren't moving on that much. It's like the 3DS, yeah, it's innovative, but I don't think it's really exactly groundbreaking stuff. So I'm sort of thinking now, are kids expecting this to happen? And then I start thinking of it in terms of a sort of economical point of view. Since I'm doing it as my degree, I like to try and think along these sort of lines. It tends to help out if you can think about stuff that you're doing into research and stuff on a day-to-day basis. It really helps you to be able to get into the zone of doing things, which really helps if you're like me and not doing very well at the moment. So you need to be able to think up things really fast. And I was sort of thinking, people are saying that they're poor all the time now, but how are they really defining this? Because if you take away the fact that it's a phone, and you put the price on actually just the child's want, when I was like 5 years old, and I'm not even old, I'm fucking like nearly 20. So like, when I was 5 years old, I wanted an original Game Boy. That cost what, like 60 quid? Or something like that, and this girl gets a £500 phone, and she gets it. So it just sort of gets to the point, right, I know you've got to take into inflationary stuff like that, but £60 to 400, that's a ridiculous amount of stuff. That's like 7 times the price. I don't really think inflation has made prices of things go 7 times as big in the past, what, 15 years. I really don't think that's happened, which sort of makes you think, sort of like, what do people count being poor as nowadays? Because like, I was talking to someone a few weeks ago in a pub, and he was saying how it's a bit disappointed with stuff because he can only afford one holiday a year now, right? I'm nearly 20, I've been on holiday 3 times, so it did kind of annoy me that this guy was essentially bitching because now he's limited to only 7 times as much holiday experience as myself. But I wasn't really that bothered because I don't really see too much into the point of holidays. Let's go somewhere and pay an extortionate amount of money for extremely slightly better weather that we're not really going to like, because no one likes it when it's actually that hot, and we'll sit around in a pub all day, just like we do at home, except no one can understand us because they're all foreign, and we have to use different money, and the banks will fuck us about because of exchange rates, and we don't know where the fuck we're going every time, and we get lost, and we do nothing but complain about hotels and restaurants. Let's do that. That sounds like a fucking top idea. Right, so I don't really get the whole idea of extensive holidaying and such. I have enjoyed the couple that I've had, but I can't really help but feel we could maybe have done it at home, sort of thing. Like, one of them was like Norfolk and stuff, and we went on a boat through the rivers and stuff. That was pretty nice, to be fair. And obviously we can't do that at home because we don't have the natural resources. But that's a completely different story altogether. But the point I'm sort of making is, people are trying to say, oh, we're so much poorer now because of all the recession and all this nonsense and stuff. Well, I don't say nonsense, we are in recession. But people are going on about how much poorer they are now than they were like 10 or 15 years ago. Well, you're gonna be if the expectation is that. Because it's all about personal perception, to take it to more of a psychological level. You think that, like, poor is comparative when you think about it. You can't say I have this particular nominal value, therefore I'm poor. You have to take it as a sort of, I'm at this percentage of capital. Or you could alternatively, as I believe most people likely do, say I can only get this much of what I want, therefore I am poor because I cannot afford what I want. But if you want something that costs 8 times as much as it did, right, we'll take inflation off it, it's still probably going to be 4 or 5 times as much. I know that we've got to take into account the compound percentages, so it's probably about 50 when you go through it all. In fact, it's probably nowhere near that, but let's go fucking extreme just to be careful. So you're now going on something twice expensive as it is, on real actual value, so you're gonna get less of it. You're supposed to get half as much. So if you're limiting yourself, so to speak, taking to the example of the person I was talking to 1 holiday a year now, like, I don't know how many he was usually having, but I'm guessing it's not that much more than 2. So you sort of think, I mean, he wasn't going to have the time for it for anything else, so you just sort of think, like, well, that's going to be expected, really. If you want things that cost twice as much, you're only going to be able to have half as many of them. It's the simple maths when you go through it like that. But it was just this kid walking down with the iPhone, and it sort of really got into my head. Sort of like, I still don't have stuff like an iPhone, I don't want one, and I do have a HTC, but the actual value of the phone is not as high and stuff like that, and if you take that into account. And I'm running on student finance and stuff. Like, I know I have to pay for food and shit like that, which she doesn't have to worry about. I have to pay for rent and stuff like that, which she doesn't have to worry about. But I'm getting like £3 a term, although a grand and a bit, although about 1,000 of that goes on the rent. So I've still got like, I've probably got £1,500 to spend on pretty much what I want, including food and drink and stuff like that. So I just sort of think, how much money does this person have, or how much are they spending which they don't have? Because I can't afford shit like that. I mean, I know I bought a PS3 last year, and I'm really feeling the effects of it, to be honest, because I couldn't really afford to do that. Although now that I'm not going to festivals and stuff like that, which I admit does take a large chunk of money, that I can afford a lot more than I normally would do, and as a result I'm staying at uni for a little bit longer after my term ends and stuff like that. But it just made me think, if people are expecting so much, then why are they complaining that they're not getting it when they never got that kind of expectancy beforehand? But as you can see, this gameplay is wrapping up there. I got 40 something for about 10, I think. I didn't really pay that much attention, but I'll see you around.